Right now, at this very moment, you are exactly where your thoughts have brought you. Not your circumstances, not your background, not what others have done to you. Your thoughts, every single condition in your life, your bank account, your relationships, your health, your career, exists as a direct result of the thoughts you've been thinking day after day, year after year. Do you believe that? Really believe it? Or are you already making excuses, already thinking of all the reasons why your situation is different, why you're the exception to this rule? Here's what I know about you without ever meeting you. Somewhere along the way, you stopped trusting yourself. You started second-guessing your instincts. You began living by other people's opinions of what's possible for you instead of what you know is possible in your heart. You traded your inner knowing for external approval, and that trade has cost you dearly. When did it happen? Can you remember the moment? For most people, it was gradual. A teacher who said you weren't smart enough, a parent who said you needed to be more realistic, a friend who laughed at your dreams, a boss who told you to stay in your lane. One by one, these became louder than your own inner self, until eventually you couldn't hear your own wisdom anymore. Let me tell you about Sarah. 3 years ago, she was sitting in a cubicle, making decent money, living what everyone called a good life. But every morning, she felt this weight in her chest. Every Sunday night, she felt sick thinking about Monday morning. She had convinced herself this was just how life worked. You sacrifice your happiness for security. You play it safe. You don't rock the boat. Sarah had been an artist in college. She could paint landscapes that made people stop and stare. But practical Sarah, responsible Sarah, had listened to the setch that said art wasn't a real career. So she got a marketing job, then another, then another. Each year she painted less. Each year the weight in her chest grew heavier. Then one Tuesday morning, something shifted. She was sitting in yet another meeting about quarterly projections, when she realized something profound. She had been living someone else's life for 8 years. Not just working someone else's job, but thinking someone else's thoughts about what was possible for her. That afternoon, she made a decision. Not a plan, not a goal, but a decision. She decided to trust herself again. She decided that her inner knowing was more reliable than the fear-based advice she'd been following. She decided to paint again. Not as a hobby, but as her calling. Within 6 months, Sarah had sold her first painting. Within a year, she had quit her job. Within 2 years, she was making more money as an artist than she ever had in marketing. But here's the real transformation. The weight in her chest was gone. She woke up excited about her days. She had found her way back to herself. What was the difference? Sarah stopped asking, "What will people think?" and started asking, "What do I think?" She stopped seeking permission from the world and started living from her own authority. Now I want you to answer something honestly. When did you stop trusting your own judgment and start living by other people's opinions of what's possible for you? Think about it. When did your dreams become unrealistic? When did your instincts become impractical? When did your vision for your life become too risky? The answer matters because that moment, that precise moment when you traded your inner authority for external approval, is when you built your prison, and you've been living in it ever since. But here's what nobody told you. The prison was never real. The bars were made of other people's fears, not your limitations. The lock was made of other people's doubts, not your inadequacies. And the key to freedom has been in your pocket the entire time. Success is not about getting lucky breaks, or having the right connections, or being born into the right family. Success is an inside job. It starts in your mind, grows in your heart, and manifests in your world. Every successful person you admire started with the same thing you have right now, a choice. A choice to trust themselves more than they trust their fears. Think of your mind like soil in a garden. Whatever you plant grows. Plant thoughts of limitation, you harvest a limited life. Plant thoughts of possibility, you harvest an extraordinary life. Plant thoughts of fear, you harvest anxiety and stagnation. Plant thoughts of confidence, you harvest achievement and fulfillment. But most people don't understand this. They think their thoughts are automatic, that they have no control over what goes through their minds. They wake up each morning and let their thoughts run wild, like letting weeds take over a garden, then wonder why their life looks chaotic and unfulfilling. Successful people understand something different. They know that every thought is a seed, and they choose their seeds carefully. They don't let random thoughts plant themselves in their mental garden. They cultivate their thinking like a master gardener cultivates their land. What does this look like practically? It means spending 15 minutes each morning choosing your thoughts for the day, instead of letting your thoughts choose you. It means asking yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Instead of what problems do I have to deal with today? It means focusing on what you want to create, instead of what you want to avoid. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't pretending problems don't exist.
This is taking conscious control of the one thing you have complete authority over, your mental focus. And when you control your focus, you control your future.
Most people focus on what they don't want, and then wonder why they keep getting it. They focus on their bills and wonder why money is always tight. They focus on their relationship problems and wonder why their relationships keep failing. They focus on their health concerns and wonder why they feel worse each year. But what if you flipped it? What if you spent as much mental energy thinking about what you want as you currently spend thinking about what you don't want? What if you focused on opportunities instead of obstacles? What if you looked for solutions instead of problems? Life operates on predictable patterns as reliable as the seasons. There's a time for planting, a time for growing, a time for harvesting, and a time for resting. Understanding these patterns gives you an unfair advantage because you can prepare for each season instead of being surprised by it. Right now, you might be in a difficult season. Things might not be going the way you planned. But here's what successful people know that struggling people don't. Difficulties are not detours on the path to success. They are the path to success. Every challenge is life asking you the same question. How badly do you want what you say you want? Most people answer that question by giving up, by making excuses, by blaming circumstances. But the people who succeed answer it by getting stronger, by learning faster, by trying harder. They understand that obstacles are not stopping them from reaching their goals. Obstacles are revealing who they need to become to reach their goals. When you face a challenge, you have three choices. You can be a victim of it, you can be a survivor of it, or you can be a victor over it. Victims blame, survivors cope, victors overcome. Which one are you choosing to be? Let me tell you the difference in thinking. When faced with a setback, a victim thinks, "Why is this happening to me?" A survivor thinks, "How can I get through this?" But a victor thinks, "How can I use this?" Victors don't just overcome challenges, they transform challenges into advantages. This is not about being unrealistically optimistic. This is about being strategically optimistic. It's about understanding that every problem contains the seeds of its own solution, and your job is to find those seeds and plant them. But here's where most people sabotage themselves. They want the success without the growth. They want the harvest without doing the planting. They want the results without changing their thinking. And when it doesn't work, they decide the system is broken, instead of realizing they never really worked the system. Self-sabotage comes in many forms, but they all have one thing in common. They keep you comfortable in your mediocrity. Making excuses is comfortable. Blaming others is comfortable. Procrastinating is comfortable. Playing small is comfortable. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. Every time you make an excuse, you're choosing comfort over growth. Every time you blame someone else, you're giving away your power. Every time you procrastinate, you're choosing immediate comfort over long-term fulfillment. Every time you play small, you're betraying the person you were meant to become. The mentality of mediocrity says, "I'll believe it when I see it." The mentality of success says, "I'll see it when I believe it." The mentality of mediocrity asks, "What if it doesn't work?" The mentality of success asks, "What if it does work?" The mentality of mediocrity focuses on problems. The mentality of success focuses on possibilities. Which mentality have you been operating from? Be honest. Have you been more focused on reasons why you can't succeed, or reasons why you will succeed? Have you been more focused on what could go wrong, or what could go right? Have you been more focused on your limitations, or your potential? Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. If you're not where you want to be in life, it's because you've been thinking like someone who belongs where you are instead of thinking like someone who belongs where you want to be. You've been operating from the mentality of your current circumstances instead of the mentality of your desired circumstances. But you can change this starting today, right now, this moment. You can decide to stop thinking like a victim and start thinking like a victor. You can decide to stop focusing on problems and start focusing on possibilities. You can decide to stop making excuses and start making progress. It starts with a simple morning practice that takes 10 minutes but changes everything. Tomorrow morning, before you check your phone, before you read the news, before you do anything else, sit quietly and ask yourself 3 questions. What kind of person do I want to be today? What do I want to create today? What am I grateful for right now? Then listen to your answers. Not the answers you think you should give, but the answers that come from your heart, that you hear. That's your inner wisdom. That's the you stop trusting. That's the that knows exactly what you need to do to create the life you want. In the evening, before you go to sleep, ask yourself 3 more questions. What did I do well today? What did I learn today? How can I be better tomorrow? This isn't about beating yourself up for mistakes. This is about building wisdom from experience. These questions will reconnect you with your inner authority. They will help you remember that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your circumstances.
They will help you remember that you don't need permission from anyone to live the life you want. You just need commitment from yourself. The reason most people never achieve their dreams is not because they're not capable, it's because they never really decide to achieve them. They hope, they wish, they try, but they never decide. Decision means cutting off all other possibilities except success. Decision means burning the bridges to mediocrity. Decision means trusting yourself more than you trust your fears.
When you truly decide, not hope, not try, but decide, everything changes. Opportunities appear, resources show up, people want to help you. This isn't magic. This is what happens when you align your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions toward a single purpose. This is what happens when you stop negotiating with success and start pursuing it. Your future is determined by your current thinking, and your current thinking is something you can change right now, in this moment, with this breath. So I'm going to ask you one final question, and I want you to answer it honestly. Are you ready to trust yourself again? Are you ready to stop living by other people's opinions and start living by your own inner knowing? Are you ready to stop playing small and start playing the game you were born to win? Because if you are, then everything is about to change. And it starts with understanding that the power to transform your life has never been outside of you. It has been inside of you all along, waiting for you to remember who you really are and what you're really capable of creating. Every single thing in your life right now, your job, your relationships, your bank account, your health, your daily routine, exists because you chose it. Even when you thought you had no choice, you were choosing. Even when you felt trapped, you were choosing. Even when you believed you were a victim of circumstances, you were choosing how to respond to those circumstances. This might make you uncomfortable. You might be thinking right now about all the things that happened to you that you didn't choose. But here's what separates people who transform their lives from people who stay stuck forever. Transformed people focus on their power to choose their response, while stuck people focus on their powerlessness over what happens to them. You cannot control what life throws at you, but you have absolute control over what you throw back. You cannot control other people's actions, but you have absolute control over your reactions. You cannot control external events, but you have absolute control over internal responses. And your responses, not the events themselves, create your results. Let me tell you about Marcus. 2 years ago, Marcus lost his job. His marriage fell apart, and his health was failing. By any measure, his life was a disaster. He was 53 years old, starting over with nothing but debt and regret. Most people in his situation would have given up, would have settled for whatever scraps life threw their way, but Marcus made a different choice. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he asked, "What is this teaching me?" Instead of focusing on what he had lost, he focused on what he could build. Instead of dwelling on his failures, he studied his failures to understand what he needed to change. Marcus realized that for 30 years he had been making decisions based on fear, not faith. Fear of not having enough money, so he stayed in a job he hated. Fear of being alone, so he stayed in a marriage that was slowly dying. Fear of looking foolish, so he never took care of his health or pursued his real interests. The moment Marcus decided to trust his own judgment again, to make decisions based on who he wanted to become instead of who he had been, everything shifted. Not immediately, not magically, but systematically and permanently. Within 90 days, Marcus had started his own consulting business. Within 6 months he was making more money than he ever had as an employee. Within a year, he had met someone who shared his values and vision for life. Within 18 months he was in the best shape of his life. But the real transformation wasn't in his circumstances, it was in his certainty. Marcus had rebuilt his mental foundation on rock instead of sand. What was different? Marcus stopped making decisions to avoid pain, and started making decisions to create gain. He stopped asking, "What if this doesn't work?" and started asking, "What if this does work?" He stopped thinking like someone trying to survive, and started thinking like someone designed to thrive. The foundation of every extraordinary life is the same: unshakable belief in your ability to create the outcomes you want through your choices and actions. This isn't blind optimism. This isn't naive thinking. This is understanding that you are not a leaf blown by the wind. You are the wind itself. Your character, your strength, your wisdom, these are built like a house. Every thought you think is a brick. Every decision you make is a beam. Every action you take is a nail. Most people build their mental house with whatever materials happen to be lying around. They think random thoughts, make impulsive decisions, take inconsistent actions, then wonder why their life feels unstable. But you can choose your materials. You can think deliberate thoughts, make conscious decisions, take purposeful actions. You can build your mental house to withstand any storm because you built it with intention instead of accident. This is not work you do once. This is work you do daily. Personal growth has seasons, just like nature. There's a time for planting new ideas in your mind. There's a time for nurturing those ideas with consistent action. There's a time for harvesting the results of your growth.
And there's a time for resting, reflecting, and preparing for the next cycle. Most people want to skip the planting and nurturing seasons and go straight to the harvest. They want results without growth, success without effort, transformation without change. But the universe doesn't work that way. Everything worthwhile grows gradually, systematically, naturally. What does daily growth look like? It means reading 10 pages of a book that challenges your thinking, instead of scrolling through nonsense that numbs your mind. It means taking a 20-minute walk while thinking about your goals, instead of sitting on the couch thinking about your problems. It means writing down 3 things you're grateful for, instead of 3 things you're worried about.
These actions seem small, almost insignificant, but small actions taken consistently create compound results that shock even the people taking them. The person who reads 10 pages daily reads 18 books per year. The person who walks 20 minutes daily walks over 100 hours per year. The person who writes daily gratitude builds optimism that transforms their entire perspective. Success is never about giant leaps. Success is about small steps taken consistently in the right direction. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. They try to change everything at once, get overwhelmed, and quit. Then they conclude that change is impossible when the real problem was their approach to change. But what if you focused on changing just 1% better each day? What if instead of trying to revolutionize your entire life overnight, you committed to evolving it gradually but permanently? 1% better every day means you're 37 times better by the end of the year. That's not improvement, that's transformation. Life operates in predictable rhythms and patterns. Understanding these patterns gives you the same advantage a surfer has who understands wave patterns. They know when to paddle hard, when to catch the wave, when to ride it, and when to prepare for the next one. Your energy has patterns. Your creativity has patterns. Your motivation has patterns. Your relationships have patterns. Your opportunities have patterns. Instead of fighting these patterns, learn to work with them. Instead of trying to be consistent every moment, learn to be consistent with the patterns. For most people, energy is highest in the morning, which means morning is the time for your most important work, not for checking messages or reading news. For most people, creativity is highest when they're relaxed but alert, which means the best ideas come during walks or showers, not during meetings or deadlines. For most people, willpower is strongest early in the day, which means difficult decisions and challenging tasks should be tackled first, not last. When challenges come, and they will come, you can respond strategically instead of reactively. Every challenge is really asking you the same question: are you committed to your growth or committed to your comfort? Your answer determines whether the challenge becomes a setback or a setup for your next breakthrough. The pattern is always the same. Challenge appears. You feel resistance. You want to quit, avoid, or make excuses. This is the moment that determines everything. This is the moment when you either prove your commitment to yourself or prove that your goals were just wishes. People who master life understand this moment. They expect resistance. They prepare for discomfort. They know that the telling them to quit is not their wisdom speaking. It's their comfort zone trying to keep them small. So they do the thing anyway, not because they feel like it, but because they decided to do it. But here's what stops most people from building this mental strength. They're still carrying around mental barriers that were installed years ago by people who meant well but didn't understand the power of the human spirit. Fear disguises itself as logic. It says things like, be realistic, and don't get your hopes up, and what will people think? Fear pretends to be protecting you, but it's actually imprisoning you. It keeps you playing small, to avoid the possibility of playing big and failing. Procrastination disguises itself as perfectionism. It says, I'll start when I have more time, and I need to research this more, and I want to make sure it's perfect before I begin. Procrastination pretends to be helping you avoid mistakes, but it's actually helping you avoid success. Comparison disguises itself as motivation. It says, look how much further ahead they are, and you're too late to start, and you don't have what they have. Comparison pretends to be inspiring you to do better, but it's actually convincing you to not try at all. How do you break free from these mental barriers? You recognize them for what they are: thoughts, not truths. Thoughts can be changed. Thoughts can be challenged. Thoughts can be replaced with better thoughts. When fear tells you to be realistic, you tell fear that your dreams are your reality in progress. When procrastination tells you to wait until you're ready, you tell procrastination that you get ready by starting. When comparison tells you that you're behind, you tell comparison that you're exactly where you need to be to become who you're meant to be. This is mental strength training. Just like physical strength is built by lifting weights repeatedly, mental strength is built by choosing courage over comfort repeatedly. Every time you feel fear and act anyway, you get mentally stronger. Every time you feel like procrastinating and start anyway, you get mentally stronger. Every time you feel like comparing and focus on your own progress anyway, you get mentally stronger. Your vision for your life must become so clear that daily decisions become obvious.
When you know exactly where you're going, you know exactly what to say yes to and what to say no to. When you know exactly what you're building, you know exactly which actions build it and which actions distract from it. Most people fail not because they don't work hard enough, but because they work hard on the wrong things. They confuse motion with progress, activity with achievement, being busy with being productive. They work hard, but they don't work strategically.
Strategy means doing fewer things, but doing the right things. It means saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great opportunities. It means focusing your energy like a laser beam instead of spreading it like a flashlight. What are the 3 most important things you need to do to create the life you want? Not 30 things, not 13 things, but 3 things. If you could only work on 3 things for the next year, which 3 things would create the most dramatic positive change in your life? Those are your priorities. Everything else is distraction. Resilience is not about avoiding setbacks. Resilience is about using setbacks as fuel for comebacks. Every setback contains information you need for your success. Every failure teaches you something success never could. Every rejection redirects you toward a better opportunity. The people who seem to have the golden touch, who seem to succeed at everything they try, have simply learned to fail faster and learn quicker than everyone else. They don't succeed because they don't fail, they succeed because they fail forward. But rebuilding your mental foundation requires one more element that most people overlook. You must learn to trust yourself again. Not blindly, not carelessly, but wisely and completely. You restore trust in yourself the same way you restore trust in anyone else, through small promises kept consistently over time. Start with promises you can easily keep, then gradually increase the difficulty. Promise yourself you'll wake up 15 minutes earlier tomorrow, then keep that promise. Promise yourself you'll read 10 pages tonight, then keep that promise. Promise yourself you'll write down 3 goals this weekend, then keep that promise. Each kept promise deposits trust in your relationship with yourself. Each broken promise withdraws trust from your relationship with yourself. Most people have been making withdrawals for so long that they don't trust themselves to follow through on anything important. But you can rebuild this trust starting today. The practice that changes everything is this. Every morning before you do anything else, sit quietly and connect with your inner wisdom. Ask yourself what you need to focus on today to move closer to the life you want. Ask yourself what you need to stop doing that's moving you away from the life you want. Ask yourself who you need to become to deserve the life you want. Then listen. Really listen. The answers you hear are not random thoughts, they are insights from the wisest part of yourself, that knows things your logical mind doesn't know, that sees possibilities your limited thinking can't see. That is your connection to unlimited potential. Every evening before you sleep, review your day honestly. What did you do well? What could you have done better? What did you learn? What will you do differently tomorrow? This isn't self-criticism, this is self-coaching. This is how you turn every experience into wisdom. The transformation you want is not just possible, it's inevitable when you align your daily actions with your deepest desires, when you stop living accidentally and start living intentionally, when you stop reacting to life and start creating life. Your mental foundation is being rebuilt right now, in this moment, with every choice you make to trust yourself more than you trust your fears. And once this foundation is solid, once your inner authority is restored, you'll be ready for the final phase of this transformation, learning to live from unshakable self-trust in every area of your life.